What's going on, Grizz fans? It's the Grind City Media Off-Season Outlook. I'm Michael Wallace. This is Lang Whitaker. We're going to peel down so many different layers of this offseason, but first and foremost, we want to start with the front office and the outlook from the front office after the Grizzlies wrapped up a successful season. When you say Lang, I mean to go 38-34, and then you win the play-in tournament, and then you get to the first round, go toe-to-toe with the Utah Jazz, #1 team in the league. If you're Zach Kleiman, who just got that extension, first off, congratulations to Zach in the front office for that. What are your first steps to sort of, rebuilding or building on the success that you've had?
I think we saw a lot this season, coach and the team talk about data points, using different lineups, different players, trying to figure out what works the best, what didn't work. And I think we'll see them take that into account now in this offseason, figure out which lineups they want to use going forward, what else they can experiment with, different things. Most of this core is under contract for at least another season. So for the Grizzlies, contractually, there's not a lot there right now to work on. Down the road, there's going to be some things to figure out, some draft picks to make, things like that. But for right now, I think at least free agency, all that stuff sort of figured out for you, don't you think?
Yeah, from a front office standpoint, I mean, I think you have something like 6 first-round picks over the next 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Free agency, spending money, you have a chance to get to $20 million in cap space this summer if you want, and even more next summer when some of these contracts roll off the books. And then beyond that, as Zach Kleiman said last year, he did his work early. Yeah. They gave Dillon Brooks the extension, and Dillon certainly has lived up to everything that the franchise thought of him. They traded for Justice Winslow. Yeah. That's going to be the question right there this offseason. What do the Grizzlies do with the Justice Winslow contract? He has a team option for 1 more year next year. If you're Justice Winslow, do you feel like you've shown enough? If you're the front office, do you feel like you've seen enough?
I think he was hurt for such a long time. He came back, trying to reincorporate him in the middle of the season. It was tough. And I think from what we saw of Justice in Miami before he came here, we know what he can do. He didn't really get a chance to show that off here, I think. So if I'm Justice Winslow, I'd kind of like the chance to show more so what I can do. Maybe a little more regular, not having to try to fit in the middle of the season, have a full training camp, all that stuff. Yeah,
this team and this front office certainly made the right picks in the coaching staff with Taylor Jenkins. Yeah. 2 years in a row, this team last year competed for the play-in, didn't make it, slipped up in the play-in round tournament against the Portland Trail Blazers. This season, they took that next step, won the play-in tournament. Yeah. So the coaching staff was the right choice. The rotation in the roster, 13 guys are coming back under contract. Lang, you've been covering this league for a long time. We both have seen teams put together the right way. When you look at the Grizzlies in the macro sense, what do you like about how this team is put together in terms of the front office vision moving forward?
I love the youth. I love that you've got Ja under contract for a long time. Jaren's going to be here for a long time. There's some older players, which is relative to this team because they're not even like in their 30s. Right. But guys like Jonas, Kyle, Tyus, in a couple of years, their contracts are going to be up. So you got to kind of figure out longer term how they fit into this. But at some point, you're going to have to decide, are you going to use some of these draft picks and cap room to go all in, chase a big free agent, maybe a trade prospect who's out there, something like that? Or do you continue building from within? I think everyone thought this season was kind of going to be a rebuilding season, and we end up in the playoffs. Yeah. So if you take that same path, keep that same rhythm, maybe it happens a little faster than anyone's thought.
And I think it will happen faster than a lot of people thought because I think this program, this franchise is ahead of schedule. Yeah. Now, are you ready to accelerate that and take the next step? You saw what it takes to get to the top of the West, right? That's why I think this playoff run was so important for the young Grizzlies because they saw what the top of the NBA Western Conference looks like. Now, what steps do they need to take to make themselves a contender?
And I think if you're the Grizzlies, you can look at the Jazz and see a team that didn't go out and make a big trade, didn't go out and do big in the free agent market. That's mostly the same team they've had for the last couple of years. Mike Conley was the big move they brought in, but for the most part, that core is the same core they've had. They just improved from within. And I think that's something that a team like the Grizzlies can look at as a model.
Right. There's process and there's the progress, and the Grizzlies are in the midst of both of them right now. For Lang Whitaker, I'm Michael Wallace. Keep it locked on all of our off-season outlook content at Grizzlies.com.